Hey folks, Carla Sands here, putting in a plug for Gene Valentino's Grassroots Truthcast.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have...
A very, very good morning to our friend Gene Valentino, who joins us live from Pensacola, and we appreciate you, Gene. Gene, sometimes I forget to say this, but Gene, very plugged into politics. He's a former county commissioner there in Pensacola. He is a businessman and very smart guy. We enjoy having him and hearing his opinions here on Fridays at 7:15. So, Gene, you know, one of the things you and I were talking about off the air, the Southern Poverty Law Center, man, this is one of the biggest things I have seen in a long time. And guess what? So many of us really thought that the Southern Poverty Law Center was up to some shenanigans, right? I mean, you even go back to Charlie Kirk. I watched a video of him discussing them. They put him on the watch list. A year later, he was dead. We also have people that went to that wanted to kill folks at a I don't remember what, but some kind of clinic or whatever, because they were put on the list of the Southern Poverty Law Center. These are rotten people who stoke racial hate, and we come to find out they're actually the arsonists who claim to be putting out the fire. Tell us what you know.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. The arsonist is putting out trying to put out the fire, but they're stoking it. The SPLC misled donors about how funds were to be used within their organization. The money was secretly funneled to leaders and members of extremist groups, and payments totaled millions of dollars over the years. And you're right, Michael. Charlie Kirk called it out just like I just did, and he's dead a few years later. Let's hope the same doesn't happen here. But the fact of the matter is, when we get closer to the wrongs in this nation, we will see the underpinnings of a conspiracy within our own system, within the mechanics of our own system, where people are using the system through taxpayer dollars. So the Watergate comment, follow the money, couldn't be more true. And the further we get into it, the more we will see the perpetration from within of the constitutional republic we value so dearly. You know, this is one of the paths that the Chinese Communist Party has taken to try to get America. They play us on the international scene. They test our will under Biden with balloons going overhead to see if we're going to react adversely. But if the truth be known, America is constantly being played. The question is, which is why this demonic Chuck Schumer is such an issue, is that he has promoted an environment within the political world, within Congress, to allow us, to force us to look the other way, with at least 20 million people illegally coming over our borders. How many times on this show have we said, who's living in your neighborhood and mine that is a sleeper cell that may someday do damage, whether Venezuela is under attack or recovery, whether Iran is under attack or recovery, and who knows what's coming. These are efforts within the United States, like delayed time bombs that could be coming up to getting us in the future. And this SPLC was one of those delayed time bombs. An organization from within the United States intended to go after those people who were conspiring, who were using racism and inflammatory rhetoric to cause violence and hate and murder with certain minority groups in the nation. The very groups that were supposed to be calling out criminal wrongdoing and racism are the exact groups that are actually fanning the flame, as you said earlier, to cause more of it. I couldn't be angrier. Trump's got to get off, solve the war in Iran, come back home before his term ends, and do an enema on the United States Congress and all the wrongdoing. It was time for Pam Bondi to go. In her first period of time as Attorney General, not one charge, not one indictment underway. And we need to get in a ton of indictments underway, whether it's pushed to happen by Donald Trump or not. Who cares? Look at the revolving door in the White House under Biden with all prosecutors and judiciary and attack mode people coming in trying to impeach the president, and how many of them were involved in threatening his life as well.
Yeah, so many things that you hit on that. I mean, I was sitting here making some notes. First of all, Chuck U. Schumer. Chuck U. Schumer, that's what Rush Limbaugh used to call him. And, you know, he had that guy pegged. This guy is trying to change the subject so fast. But look, let me tell you what he did do. He, along with all of these other high-profile Democrats, have circled the wagons around the Southern Poverty Law Center. Why? Because they are the ones that set up the Charlotte disaster, where we had a young woman was even killed in this operation that the Southern Poverty Law Center basically set up so that they could say, Joe Biden said, I ran for office because of that. He said there was a lot of nice people. And this was all a Democrat setup, every bit of it. That's one thing. You talked about some of the folks that are in our Congress are not, they don't have the best interest of the United States involved. Ilhan Omar, she's about to get hammered. I'm seeing this. I'm seeing the folks talking about this. They have the evidence. Some smart people are trying to figure out how they're going to go and get her. They're going to, I guarantee you, they're going to take her U.S. citizenship away and they're going to deport her. This is beautiful what's going on. We would never, ever know any of these things if Donald Trump wouldn't have been elected last year.
Boy, you hit the nail on the head, Michael. I remember being on this show about 4 years ago where we predicted the complete meltdown of the Democrat Party. Some things more happened quicker. Some things are taking their time. But on Schumer, what's he said about Ilhan Omar? Silent as a church mouse. What's he said about this whole SPLC issue? Silent as a church mouse. The man is focusing on his own attacks. While Schumer plays politics, the frontline workers of this nation, ICE in particular, go without pay. When a clean funding path was on the table, Schumer said no. He's more focused on restraining ICE than securing the border. Now, what's it going to be? Has America not seen enough of it, or do we continue to tolerate this BS? You know, it's one thing if I bring the issue to your attention like we attempt to do in 15 minutes every Friday morning. It's another thing if you do nothing about it.
Right. You're exactly right. You know, I was just thinking as you were talking about some of the folks that are screaming about the Southern Poverty Law Center. Ted Lieu, a liberal from California. Ro Khanna, another liberal.
There you go.
They are screaming at the top of their lungs. These guys at the Southern Poverty Law Center, they were doing nothing wrong. They had informants out there. All of the things that, you know what? We have a saying here in Mississippi, and you've probably heard this before because the panhandle of Florida is a lot like Mississippi. A hit dog will holler. And that is what they are doing. A hit dog will holler. And
Shakespeare would say, he doth protesteth too loudly.
Yeah, he doth protesteth too much. There's no question about it. So they are out there protesting this. Why? Because this single organization was the one that stoked the racial hatred in this country and has pitted blacks against whites, whites against blacks. It is terrible what they have done. And, you know, where there's confusion, those folks are, that is their element. That's where they want to be. Confusion. You come to us, we'll help you. These people are racist. They're, you know, that's the age-old thing. Just call them a racist, and then you're done with the conversation.
You know, we're talking about a few different points, but they all lead to the same thing: an orchestrated attempt on the Democrat Party, which is about to fail this nation in their attempt to take on issues and platforms to take down people within the Republican Party so that they can promote their agenda of promoting a socialist network. Look, for those who have not been in social studies and civics and studied the way maybe some of us have that are a little older, Google the heck out of the words socialism and communism and study the people around those names that are listed. You'll see that there has been an orchestrated attempt by some of the people Michael has just mentioned. This Ro Khanna, as you said a minute ago, is up and coming in California. Boy, is he trying to fan the flame. You've got Tim Walz and Chris Murphy from Connecticut. One of the reasons I left Connecticut 40 years ago. This guy are over in Spain and Barcelona, and they're trying to pass themselves off as the new imagery of America. Even the Spaniards sitting in the audience were nauseated. They were talking about the DEI trans issue. They were talking about President Trump in bad light. And they were talking about the ICE border security issues. Polls show that these issues are between 11 and 16% of the America's interest right now. America's interest that moves into the 70s and 80s is the SAVE Act, the Safeguarding American Voter Eligibility Act. Heads up on that next week as Congress deals with that issue, making sure that you are an eligible voter, a legal voter, making sure that's because your criteria is established firmly to show that you're a legal citizen. And what's it going to be in the future for you to be considered a legal citizen? Is it just that birthright issue, or are we going to fine-tune what our founding fathers did not intend by birthright opportunity in the original Constitution? We need changes in the structure of our democracy, in amendments to the democracy that these wingnuts cannot pervert and change, to ensure that long after you and I are gone, the spirit of this democracy that Ted talks about, that Ted fought for, and the people of a generation earlier, including my grandfather, an Italian immigrant who couldn't speak English, didn't want to know about anything except the beauty of America. If we don't protect those people who work their asses off to protect us, then we have failed this nation. And we got to go after Donald Trump. I hope you're hearing this. You better go after the loons in the Congress that were undermining you from within, that were whacking you in the knees when you were trying to sprint. This is the America you need to protect.
Yeah, thank you, Gene. We're out of time. And
no way.
Thank you so much.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed.